Intro, take one. What do I want to share? What matters? I think a great success is that I can turn junk like this, stale, rotting, wilted food, and turn it into eggs, like magic. I always feel bad, like I'm stealing their egg, hence why I give them a bucket of food like this on collection days. I mean, they get food every day. Bless the chickens, bless the Lord, and bless you all. This is a little town in Utah. Really interesting. It almost looks like a false facade. Then we can get a closer look. And it is a facade over brick. This was interesting. A Florida bill has passed outlawing weather manipulation. It has cleared the Senate. So it's on the table now. It's in the open and being fought. While announcing this news, the government official passed out. Really interesting. I hope it's not too windy. I should close the door. This is a place in Turkey, and we are told the official American bird was almost a turkey, but ended up an eagle. And the turkey is not the fat bastard that we usually think of for Thanksgiving. They can look like that, but in the wild, they're everything that an eagle is. Just a glorious bird. But anyway, back to Turkey, and more Turkey. Turkey is kind of underselling this nation. We in America have places kind of like this. This, for example, is in New Mexico. This is called Bandelier National something, and it's full of these irregular windows and doors, flat floors or levels, and really reminiscent of what we see in Turkey. The difference is there's a lot more of it in Turkey. I promise not to say that name for the rest of this video. For this week, I thank you for being here. I love you all. God bless and welcome. Okay, here we are. What is this, you might ask? Let's start with what are we told? We're told, first of all, that these structures were formed naturally by lava and volcanoes and hot bubbling gases. Millions, of course, billions of years ago. And then some primitive goat herders decided to build their homes here in the most difficult way possible. Forget cutting down some trees and just building a home. No. We are told these people carved into this mountain, not just a little studio apartment or something, but carved into the whole damn thing, like some termite, boring out the whole mountain and then disappearing. Today you can stay in some of these, like a tourist, but that's what we're told. Goat herders, just master carvers, just going nuts. So much time on their hands, borderline neglecting goat. They found themselves carving all this, even small windows, even windows going into the earth, showing that this continues underground. And where am I going with this? Where can I go with this? I feel like I'm in the weeds. This is too much. Let's go back to these ruins off the coast of California. Here this picture is pointing us to this Point Doom Natural Preserve. And if we're to believe it, these ruins are in the ocean below this preserve. And again, this is fascinating that such a thing would be lying below our feet right off the coast of California. And no curious scuba divers. Where are the Jacques Cousteaus of today? A whole bunch of columns, like this was some World's Fair building or Capitol style building. But anyway, this is impressive for America. Everything is always impressive for America because we're told it's so young. But let's look at something next that, in my opinion, is just as good of evidence and has not been deleted or attempted to from history. So here we are in California. Let me ring the bell. California, and if we go across the ocean to Japan, we have a place called the Yonaguni Ruins. And it's not just like one building, although some say it's part of a type of complex. And here we can see that main structure, or at least a depiction of it. An entrance down here in the bottom left. And what is this? Certainly not natural, but they will tell us this is natural. Again, we don't have to look at a cartoon, and these are clearly ruins. And at first I thought it was just everything underwater here. But if we study this case, we can actually see that the structure or structures exist above the water as well. As we can see here, blocks fusing into what seems to be natural, which is my favorite, the transitioning of absolute perfection, very advanced building techniques, fusing into nature, in short. And it's already impressive enough, everything we see underwater. But couple this with what is visible up on the surface, and here we see the pyramids of Yonaguni, and we have to begin to ask ourselves a lot of questions. So here are 6 lost cities found underwater around the world. Here's a place called Dwarka in India. So here again, castles melting into the sea, as Hendrix said. A great example. And I've told you India has no shame. They don't try to pretend like they built anything. Here we're told, according to folklore, Lord Krishna, which is like the highest god, built this. This was God's city. The ruins were found beneath the surface, and the complexities and beauty of this city have baffled even experts. Port Royal, Jamaica. Made of 4 forts and 2,000 buildings, in the 17th century, Port Royal was a hotbed for pirate activity. The Lion City in China. The Pavlo Petri in Greece. Really amazing. Cities underwater. And a villa in Argentina. Now I want to take us to Malta. In Malta, we have examples of everything, but most importantly, this idea that these structures in complete ruins just blossom out of the sea, and we have no idea how far down they go. We could spend a lifetime examining everything above ground, but we have a connection here, literally, between these underwater cities and what we see here still attached to them. And what happened to bring the ocean levels 2,000 feet, enough to cover quite possibly the majority of the population. I mean, it's no different today. The majority of the people live on the coastline. I would too. What happened? I mean, we have great evidence here. These tiles, the columns, the statues, everything's in great shape. Tiles are still held in place. Why don't more people bring this up? It just seems very unpopular to talk about a cataclysm or a reset taking place as little as 200 years ago. Could tile hold up like this on the ocean floor for thousands of years? I don't know. You would think it would get completely buried. It does look like they've brushed portions aside. But what could do this? What could raise the ocean levels 2,000 feet? Okay, what could cause this? I want to thank you all once again for being here. I want to thank all my Patreons and everyone who supports in various ways. What the hell happened here? So again, they want to tell us millions of years to form the landscape, and then goat herders carving. Just really ambitious goat herders. I mean, they could have built, if they built this, for example, they were carvers and builders. Not sure what they wanted to do, just perhaps quarreling over the issue. Let's carve. No, let's build. Let's carve. And it looks like they settled on both. A little carving, as we can see here, and a little building. But I propose, of course, that all three of these ideas are stupid. The lava forming these perfect levels on the inside with windows. The idea that goat herders came along and carved or built. And again, it's not too different than the ruins we were looking at in New Mexico that we are told were carved by Native Americans. I mean, if it's not clear that this is not carved, one may have a difficult time moving forward. And if that's the case, one should go out and try to carve as much as a little shelf into stone. But I think most people will realize that this is not the result of carving. Most people will have not even seen photos like this. Not something that's typically shared in any educational curriculums. And enough beating around the bush, I guess. Could these structures have been beautiful structures that have melted like wax? A lot of people want to talk about how the flood happened. May not have been that long ago, as we were just discussing. And what if everything that we see all throughout the realm that looks natural was not natural, but actually giant skyscrapers that have been destroyed by such a violent heating event they actually cook down to blobs, leaving their interiors in great shape, cooking the outsides, dripping hot flowing material over the windows, giving the impression that they're unfinished, but they actually have a thin layer of molten material that can easily be popped out, as many of them have been. And if such an event happened, all of this excess material would flow into the sea and could easily displace the oceans by 2,000 feet if this occurred realm-wide. And I want to pose one more crazy idea. And some may say this is crazy, but no, this is very logical. But let's take it a little further. I'll ring the bell. So in 2018, the tides rose 5 feet in Venice and lasted for weeks. And where does the extra water come from? We've had similar examples where the tides have receded for weeks. Many examples. And where does the excess come from? Now, of course, science will tell us this is the moon. The moon doesn't seem to affect a glass of water or a lake. Now, if you search for Mount Meru today, you just get a bunch of nature scenes. With the exception of this little image that popped up, which might be closer to the truth. And what does this show us? It may be showing us a perfect depiction of our realm. On the right side, this looks like everything we were just looking at. An artificially built realm from the ground up. And perhaps this is a before and after picture. But anyway, Mount Meru, a lot more to it. So we see kind of a depiction of our realm on a turtle, on elephants, and like this beehive on the top, or a bell. Now I'll just add Mercator to this cert, and just barely we get this map. 1606, Mercator, one of the most famous and respected map makers of his time. And what does this man show us? This respected map maker. We see America here on the left, Asia, Russia, RUS on the right, Greenland, Iceland, and a little nation called Friesland that is no longer portrayed on modern map. We see all kinds of castles and cities on it. We also see castles and cities in Greenland, way up here at the north. Now everything, of course, is covered in snow and ice, we are told. But is it really? I digress. We continue north of Greenland and we have this black rock. Here it's called the Rupus nigra, and it's said that this is Mount Meru. Many tales of old are given for this region, explorers who found themselves up here on accident. And from their accounts, we're told that 2 of the rivers flow in and 2 of them flow out. The ones that flow in actually have such a strong current and actually spill inward like a pump, pumping in and out, the heart of the realm. And if the realm was formed from the ground up, then surely the architects, who are beyond anything we could imagine, created this place to be functional, like a machine. So I think we'll take one quick pause and look at something else. Usually I'm upset when cats jump on the rim of the toilet. This evening I pissed on her head. Anyway, I wanted to show you these historical Utah treasures on the verge of disappearing forever. This was really interesting because all of these buildings are on the registry of historic places, and they're all in danger of being sold and demolished. So it's pretty official. I mean, I've seen it before over the years that buildings on the historic registry were demolished, but it's an absolute fact now. That designation means nothing. Nothing at all. Perhaps people get a tax break for this historical designation. Nothing more. There is a group that's working to preserve many of these sites, but usually these are going to be local. In this case, it's called Preservation Utah, and they have a most endangered list of 2025. And here we go. Here's the list. One of them included is a structure that I recently did boots on the ground at. This one, the old mill in Cottonwood Heights. Many of you signed a petition. Forgive me, I ultimately have no control. Again, the Mormons arrive in 1860, at least the first decent group of them, right from the get-go. It was first residence of Lewis Hills, a wealthy banker who arrived in Utah in 1862. The Hogar Hotel. Next is the Chateau Normandy, suffering a recent fire. The Ogden Union Stockyard Exchange Building in Ogden. The Salina Municipal Building and Library in Salina. This would have been one of the ironmonger towns we discussed in my recent Mormon video. Pretty unbelievable. Ultimately just announcing it, that's all, in modern times. Back in the old days, you didn't have to even announce anything. You just demolished and had a lot of blocks for building other things. This was an almost forgotten village, predicted to be the Pittsburgh of the prairies. This is in Canada. Just look at the layout of this city. Just an absolute grid, circuit board, castle city. And it was demolished, and it's almost completely lost to history. It's just a small group of Albertans trying to merely preserve the memory of this city, let alone any part of the city. I mean, what was this city like? We have Capitol buildings, giant building back here with a tower looking like the ferry building in San Francisco, industry all around, obelisks. What the hell? So this city was called Bow City, and in 1915 the Bow City Hotel burned to the ground. Only 30 residents remained, and eventually the town went bust, and it was turned into agricultural land. These people are fighting to approve a marker, just a marker. It could be 2 or 3 years until it's in place. A marker pointing out the location of this former city. They tell us it only had a history of like 4 years in Canada. And again, it shouldn't be unusual. When we go back to Rome, we see cities built from the ground up. This is our past, and our past was unfortunately greater, at least architecturally, than the present. So for this week, I think I'll leave it here. I hope you've enjoyed our exploration. I love you all. God bless, and I'll see you next week.